Hello, everybody. It is Daniela here from Matchpoint, and today we are going to be answering all of your burning questions about all things networking and events. I am so excited to have Lisette Sutherland with me, the Director of Collaboration Superpowers, a company on a mission to help people crush remote work through interactive online workshops. She's also the author of Work Together Anywhere Handbook and the host of a podcast where she features top remote working pros about making virtual collaboration seamless. So she is the go-to person for remote work and collaborating remotely. Lisette is here to answer our burning questions about remote relationships. So let's get right into it. Lisette, thank you so much for being here. I'm really excited to have you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Are you ready for your rapid fire question?
Bring it on. Bring it on.
Okay, so your question is, how can individuals maintain and strengthen their professional networks in an era and a time where remote work and digital communication are becoming the norm?
The key to networking online or in person is the same sort of rule as we have for remote, and that is be intentional. So in terms of networking, if you move to a new city, it's sort of the same process. What I've always recommended to people is find a topic that you really like. Maybe you're into sewing, or maybe you're into paragliding, or maybe, whatever it is that you're into, find that topic that you really like and then go there where those people are. Every topic has some sort of community around it. For example, I've recently got into the topic of working out loud and visualizing my work. So when I'm thinking about that topic, where do I go? I go to the Kanban community. I go to the Obeya community. I go to the Agile community, and I join their events and I join their trainings. And that's where I go and I meet people. So find your topic, find your thing, find those communities and just go there. And I say, when you move to a new city, because the key is not just going once, but going repeatedly, so that because the second time somebody sees you, it's like, hey, I saw you last time. And all of a sudden, there's more of a tie than there was if you just went into the room cold. And that's for in person or online. So be intentional.
Yeah, I love that. And I guess to elaborate on that, because people might be busy. I mean, I love doing what you're recommending, but people might be busy or not be able to get out as much. So how could they also do that online, truly online, without going to events in person?
Oh yeah, I mean, that's the best thing about okay, there's many great things about online, but one of the great things about online is that there's no commute, right? You just like hit a button and then you're there. So that's for me, it's just a matter of finding the events online. Now, luckily, you can just ask AI these days and it'll go through and help you find events that you're interested. But yeah, registering for events online, there are plenty of networking events to go to. And I would say focus on the ones that are not webinars. Focus on events that are absolutely interactive where you're going to be talking with people. Because if you're going to just sit and watch a video, you might as well do that on YouTube at your own time and probably on double speed, right? You want to go where you're talking to people online. So find those communities.
I love that. I think that's such a good idea because you're right. Like when we think about online events, a lot of them are webinars and people kind of overlook yeah, I mean, webinars have their place, but yes, I'd rather watch at two times speed. So,
Yeah, it's not
um,
a networking event.
yeah, exactly. It's two different things. And like you said, you can find online courses in YouTube. Not again, not to knock webinars, but it's a completely different purpose. And I think also people make the mistake of sometimes going to a webinar or an online conference and thinking that they're going to get a lot of networking out of it, which meh, not usually the case. So I love that. That's a great recommendation. Go find community events that are online.
And then one more tip on top of that. And I get this because of an ex-boyfriend. His name was
Shout out
Paul.
ex-boyfriend.
Shout out ex-boyfriends. We're still friends to this day, like super good friend. Um, but he was the most extroverted person that I'd ever known, still to this day. And he would just go into a room and put out his hand and say, "Hi, I'm Paul." And from there, the conversation would strike. I mean, the other person has no choice but to say, like, "Hi, I'm Lisette," and you just shake hands. And then, he would just ask something about, well, why are you here? I mean, the next question comes to you. So you're not just standing there. And so I recommend to people to use the "Hi, I'm Paul" method. Walk into a space and just introduce yourself to somebody as a starting point. So being intentional, finding those places and really introduce yourself. It is so hard to do. That's why you have to practice. in small spaces, but once you get into it, it really does help. People are
Yeah.
nice and they're kind. The response is never, I wouldn't say never, the response is rarely bad.
Right. And also, if you're in a space where you have the opportunity to do that, then people want to be spoken to. So
Totally.
you're set up for success from the get-go. Although it can be a little overwhelming, but like you said, once you do it once, like it just becomes natural after a few times, and practice makes perfect, and you got to start somewhere. So
Totally.
yeah. I also sometimes I recommend if you are maybe a little bit more shy, introverted, if you're going to do that, also have some like icebreakers or questions in your back pocket that you think of beforehand. So if you get stuck and you don't know what to say, you're like, oh yeah, I have these three questions I could ask. Like a good one that you said is, what are you doing at this event? Like it's a more open-ended question than what do you do or where do you work, right? So having those questions in your back pocket can be really helpful in a situation like that.
Totally. I'm a huge fan of icebreakers. I know they're controversial, but I love starting things with icebreakers because it is a great way to get to know someone. And the key to icebreakers is to make them useful for the moment that you're in. So you don't want
Mhm.
just some random one because you don't want to ask somebody like, what's your favorite ice cream flavor? If you were an ice cream, which one would you be? It has its place, but in a networking event, think of the questions that are really meaningful. Like what would help you learn something meaningful. So yeah, there's a whole approach. It's more intentional than people think, and you get more value, I think, the more intention you put into it.
Yeah, I think the key theme here is intention. I think intention in anything in life is super important, but for networking too, like you want to go into it knowing what you want to get out and having some sort of plan of action, intention.
Right? Otherwise, it's random, and that's also a method. Random
Right.
works, but it is truly random. Whereas when
Yeah,
you go in with an intention, you increase the likelihood of that randomness happening for you. So
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. All right, Lisette, this was great. I really appreciate you being here, and this was really great insight, and I hope people are able to take away something from this.
thanks for having me.